Slate. So thank you all for coming out and joining us here today. I would read a quote that I thought sort of inspired this whole seminar. Very many persons think that they can blend whiskey and that it's just a matter of throwing a few brands together. That manipulation of whiskeys requires much care as the most delicate wines. As a matter of fact, it takes years of patient study and experience to enable the expert blender to take the most out of each Highland still and produce a high-class blend at the lowest possible cost. These words were written in 1904 by Alfred Barnard, the father of whiskey writing, in his aptly titled book pamphlet, How to Blend Scotch Whiskey, and I think they're still quite true today. Traditionally, drinkers, bartenders, and journalists, including myself, have really not understood or appreciated the importance of and the necessity of blending for not only making whiskey, but also all spirits. Unless you're buying a single barrel product, essentially every spirit is a blend of barrels, carefully chosen by an expert blender. Blending, like distilling or bartending, or writing for that matter, is truly an art form. Thank you all for joining us for the art of blending. Here we go. Today we are joined by a bunch of real legends who will share their own blending processes and how they create their spirits. I'm Noah Rothbaum, I'm your moderator. I'm Men's Journal Spirits Editor, the editor-at-large of Bartender Magazine. I'm the author of several books, The Business of Spirits, The Art of American Whiskey, and also I'm contractually obligated to point out that my new book, The Whiskey Bible, will be out on September 9th. Pre-order that wherever you like to buy books. I'm also the associate editor of the award-winning Oxford Companion to Spirits and Cocktails, which I edited with legendary drinks writer David Wondrich. That's available at the bookstore downstairs and autographed by both of us. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce all of our incredible blenders here who've joined us. I've been thinking about this seminar for several years, so I was incredibly happy that I was able to convince Tales to do it this year. So, this is really a dream team, and I really wanted all these folks to be here, so they've come from around the world. So it's a very, very special seminar. All right, without further ado, all the way on the right is Alex Coronado, Master Distiller and Head of Production at Jose Cuervo. Alex joined Jose Cuervo in 1993 when he started in strategic planning before transitioning to the operations team in 1995. During his time working within Cuervo operations, he had roles as a process engineer in the distillery, as well as working in bottling operations as a plant manager and as a technical director. Alex is now Master Distiller of Cuervo, where he's responsible for the entire distillation, bottling, and innovation for the Cuervo tequila portfolio. I mean, this is one busy person. I am so grateful that we're able to tear him away from the distillery. I had to beg, plead, perhaps cry to get him to come here, so I'm so happy he is here. In total, Alex has more than 25 years of experience in manufacturing and distilling tequila with Jose Cuervo. Thank you, Alex, for coming. Next to Alex is Dr. Don Livermore, Master Blender at Hiram Walker & Sons. Dr. Don Livermore is the Master Blender up in Windsor, Ontario, Canada, right across from Detroit. I got to visit Don several years ago in this incredible facility. He's responsible for some of Canada's award-winning whiskeys, such as J.P. Wiser's, Lot Number 40, and Pike Creek. After graduating from the University of Waterloo in 1996 with a degree in microbiology, just for reference, I am the world's worst bio student, so I am very happy that Dr. Don is here to lend us his bio knowledge. Don started his career at the distillery as a lab technician. He then went on to get a Master of Science degree and then a PhD in brewing and distilling at Heriot-Watt University with a focus on how wood interacts with whiskey. In 2012, he became the Master Blender of Hiram Walker, and in 2019 and 2020, he won the Canadian Whiskey Master Blender of the Year Award at the Canadian Whiskey Awards, and in 2025 won both the Master Blender and Distillery of the Year at the World Whiskey Awards. Not bad, not a bad haul. Next to Dr. Don. We have David Morrison, the Deputy Master Blender at Appleston Estates. David was born and raised in Kingston, Jamaica. He studied chemistry at the University of the West Indies. I'm also the world's worst chemistry student, so thankfully David's here. He joined Appleton Estates back in February of 1999 as an apprentice. In 2003, Appleton's legendary master blender, Dr. Joy Spence, handpicked David to join her team as a senior blender. He worked alongside Joy to curate and blend many of the brand's award-winning premium rums. David's passion and excellence propelled him to the position of Deputy Master Blender in 2024. Thank you all for coming. And not only are they here to share their knowledge, but also some of their delicious spirits with us today and explain how blending is an essential part of that. So without further ado, I think we'll sort of talk about their own blending processes and philosophies and how it drives the production of their spirits. And as these examples of in front of you in the glasses, which are, I would argue, some of the rarest spirits being poured at all of Tales, which there's a lot of really good stuff being poured today and all week or all 87 days of Tales. But today in particular, this, if you're tasting one flight of spirits, this one is pretty incredible. So Don, I will kick it over to you for your
Okay.
start up. Yeah.
Thank you, Noah, for inviting me and with these prestigious gentlemen beside me. I'm here to talk to you today a little bit about Canadian whiskey and how we look at blending it today. So the facility I work at is the Hiram Walker Distillery, which is south of Detroit. If anybody knows geography, look on your iPhone. We've been there since 1858, making and blending whiskeys and many other brands through those years. It is an iconic distillery today. We have the capability bringing and distilling 55 million liters of absolute alcohol. Certainly the largest distillery in Canada, if not one of the largest in North America. So under my purview, not only do we make whiskey, we make vodka, we make rum, we make gin, all kinds of different things. I got a very hectic day usually, but it's a privilege to be here talking about blending Canadian whiskey. Now, Canadian whiskey goes way back many, many years. We, in the earliest of the days, we would have been a moonshine style of whiskey. They would have taken any ingredient possible, distilled it, sold it as quickly as possible. But Canada understood their audiences, and just much like you as bartenders, they knew what they wanted to drink, and that was a lighter style of whiskey. So many of the Canadian whiskey producers, such as Gooderham and Worts and Hiram Walker, and Wiser's, they developed distilling technologies to double distill to make the whiskey taste lighter, because that's what they understood their audience wanted. And if you know traditional Canadian whiskey, Canadian Club and JP Wiser's, many of it is just a lighter style of whiskey, because that's what our audiences wanted way back in the early 1800s. Now, Canada has been an innovative country where we were the first whiskey category in 1890 to age. Whiskey wasn't always aged. Why would you age something? It costs money. But our government at that time wanted to premiumize and make sure Canadian whiskey is of good quality, so they thought it was a good idea to age whiskey for a minimum of 2 years. I'm sure our distillers at that time went, WTF, we now have to age our product? But yes, and it increased their inventories by 20 times. But by the year 1900, Canadian whiskey was the largest whiskey category in the world. We outsold any of the whiskey, and that lighter style of Canadian whiskey, what was made. But they gave us rules and regulations of Canadian whiskey to have the master blender decide how we want to make our products. We're not held to a mash bill. We're not held to certain styles of wood. We're not held to the way we distill. So that gives me latitude as a blender. So in and around the 1940s, when I started looking at the recipe books, you could see Hiram Walker and J.P. Wiser's start making whiskey this way. They would ferment corn separately, rye separately, barley separately, wheat separately, distill it separately, age it separately, and then we put it together at the end. That's why they have a job like mine as a master blender. This is what we are trying to achieve. So I don't know what you want to drink 10 years from now. Maybe you don't even know what you want to drink 10 minutes from now. But when Canadian whiskey, as the large producers make whiskey this way, we can tailor, make, and innovate rather quickly. So when I'm looking at different grains and different methods of distillation and different barrel types, I can dial in the flavors of those whiskeys. And you can see up here, I'm not going to read it verbatim, but I'm like you. I'm the person before the bartender. I take the ingredients, and this is how I will assemble whiskey. So I'm going to talk about this, and we'll get into our first whiskey of today. In 2016, the LCBO, which is one of the largest liquor buyers in the world, approached me and said, Dr. Don, can you make a flavor wheel? And I actually laughed back at them and said, I don't use those things. They're not helpful for me on my day-to-day job. Please, Don, make a Canadian whiskey flavor wheel. So what I have in front of you, and you can take those home with you. When whiskey is made, it starts at that center of that wheel. Flavor only comes from 3 spots. This is what I think about at night. It comes from the yeast, the grain, or the wood. Those are the 3 things I can manipulate. The second ring of the wheel is how I manipulate those. So I can change the grains from corn to wheat to rye to barley and get a different flavor profile. I had to add in spoilage. It does happen. There's whiskeys out there, and very expensive whiskeys, that have a mustiness to them, and that happens through the grain profile. So that's on that wheel. On the wood part, I stood wood, because Canadian whiskey, we can use more than oak. We can use cherry. I got a lot 40 cherry. That's fantastic. But the cask, we can burn a certain way to get flavors. You can finish in different styles of spirits to get flavors, and age will certainly give you flavor. On the yeast side, yeast is the heartbeat of what we do. You don't realize it, but most of the flavor that you drink in our spirits comes from yeast. It does. That's the most important thing. And yeast is like human beings. Whatever conditions I put yeast under, I can change the pH, the temperature, the nutrients, any of those things. I can force it to make green grass, fruity, floral, soapy, sulfur notes. So have you ever had skunky beer or skunky wine before? That's a sign of a poor fermentation. I should know how to control that. That's my microbiology degree, but certainly is a sign of that. The third ring of wheel is what you guys care about. What does a whiskey taste like? The outside ring of the wheel is why I have a PhD. So if you look at the 9 o'clock on that flavor wheel, you'll see a compound called isoamyl acetate. It connects to banana, it connects to fruity, it connects to yeast. So if you get banana flavors in your whiskey, it comes from yeast. And just above it, you see phenylethyl acetate, floral notes, that comes from yeast. That's why I said yeast is the heartbeat. If I go over to 2 o'clock on that flavor wheel, you see a compound called 4-ethylguaiacol. And it connects into the spicy notes, and it connects into rye. So if I want to dial up the spicy, the warm feeling in the chest, we call that the Canadian hug. You can actually see how much rye is in your whiskey when you have that, okay? And likewise, vanilla, if you look at 5 o'clock in that flavor wheel, is how you burn the barrel. That's where you bring in vanilla, that whiskey. So the first whiskey I want to taste here is in the top, in the middle. It showcases the art of blending, and I thought it was a good whiskey here. I had to ship it here to get it here. But this is a 4-grain whiskey. You don't really see 4-grain whiskeys too often inside of our industry. But because in Canada I separate everything, I can blend them together after the fact. It's a brand called Gooderham & Worts. 4-grain whiskey. I got a little bit of a cheesy personality, so I put the strength at 44.4%. So when you taste this, you're going to have this. You're going to get a nice bready note first. That's the wheat. Then you're going to get a nutty character. Those happen right away. About 30 seconds in it, you'll get a sweetness across the tongue. And in the finish, in about the last minute, you're going to get that warm feeling through the chest. That's the rye. So this is a good example of bringing together grains into that whiskey. And we like to say cheers A in Canada, so cheers A. Salut. Yeah, salute to my Brexit friend there. Bready nutty. Get that bready. Yeah. Sweetness across the tongue. All right. And then you get that warm feeling through the chest. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful whiskey. That one is definitely an award-winning whiskey on that side of it. Now, for Canadian whiskey, this is where we're at. So with Canadian whiskey, I'll just go through this slide. I do, and generally in the past, we're usually just corn and rye. Rye is our ingredient that really drives through that. Rye, why we use rye in Canada is because of what grows there. Actually, rye grows in shitty conditions. It'll grow in swampy soil, in cold climates. It won't go past 25 degrees Celsius. That's why rye tends to be part of Canadian whiskey. It doesn't matter how much rye you put in it. We can call it rye whiskey. The analogy I like to give is like the dish curry chicken. What's the main ingredient to the dish curry chicken? Don't overthink. Chicken. The curry's the spice. And that's the spice to Canadian whiskey is rye. Rye grows there. That's why we use it first. But there's a functional reason why we use rye. Rye has a high lignin content. What does that mean? Lignin finds on the shell of the grain. It's in your fiber part of it. And lignin just holds the fiber in the grain together. Rye, for whatever reason, has a high lignin content to it. But when we make whiskey in Canada, we go through the distilling process. Has anyone been to a distillery before? They're nice and warm, right? So we're heating and cooking and distilling and boiling. And what happens is we bust that lignin apart during the distillation process, and that brings up that dials up that spicy thing. So when I ask my rye producers, I ask them to have a grain of high lignin content because it brings me a nice spiciness to my whiskey. So when I blend, my philosophy is this: I want to make as light as whiskey as I can get, and I make that out of corn, and I make as heavy as I can out of rye, and that's where I can bring in this, and I can blend it together near the end. So the second whiskey in the top right-hand corner there is a brand called Lot 40. Lot 40 has 3 truths. It is 100% rye. So this is my curry. Okay. It's column and pot distilled. When you do those 2 distillation techniques, it dials up the rye spiciness. Dials it right up because we target their boiling point, and it's aged in new wood. Because it's so spicy, I want to have a nice new oak flavor to it, so I age in new oak. And what makes Lot 40 dark oak extra special, it's double aged. So I put it into a number 2 char barrels and then finish it in number 4, the dark char. That's why we call Lot 40 dark oak. And this sits at 48% ABV. And this is an example of a whiskey I would use to blend in to give me spiciness to what I'm doing as Canadian whiskey. And that's why I wanted to showcase this here. So cheers A to Lot 40. Right. And this will showcase really what rye is in rye whiskey. Okay? The slide that I have there, just one minute here. If anybody is interested in blending whiskey, by the time I get all the different ages and barrels and grains, I have 140 different. This is my painter's palette up here. And what I do for $100, if you come and visit me, I'll walk you through every one of those bottles on the table, and you can pick and blend your own whiskey and do my job. I do that about 4 times a year. You can follow me at CDN Whiskey Doc. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter, or Twitter now known as X, if you're at all interested in this. Okay? I don't know who's next. Who's next?
I think David is. Yeah, thank you.
All right, so good afternoon, everyone. Now we're about to talk about rums. I need more energy than that. So good afternoon, everyone. All right. Okay, so a day in the life is what I'm going to be talking about as far as rum is concerned. So a lot of what Don just mentioned will actually carry over into rum. So when you think about rum, we think about the finishing and the barrels, etc. But at the end of the day, we have a very interesting and unique spirit at play here when we talk about rum. So I work with the Appleton Estate Distillery. I have been a blender now for 22 years, almost completing 23 years now. And we have some of the most amazing nuances at work at the Appleton Estate that really showcases and comes through beautifully in our final products. So the Appleton Estate happens to be the oldest distillery in continuous production in Jamaica, dating back to 1749. So when you look at a lot of the bottles, you will see 1749 etched into the glass. That represents the year of the earliest documented rum making. So what that means is that we have a lot of history, a lot of know-how, a lot of very unique things at the Appleton Estate that comes through really nicely in our final rums. Now, I like to tell people, and I'm going to tell a small fib here. I like to tell people that blending is the most important thing in the room. That's why I get paid. But the reality is that while that may not necessarily be the case, blending is incredibly important to our overall process. If you think about rums, we can have so many different nuances in the rums coming from the stills, in the rums coming through from, or in the wash coming through from fermentation. Don mentioned yeast. Yeast is incredibly important. I mean, we have our own proprietary strain of yeast that we've cultured from the cane growing in the field that gets used to produce every single batch of rum. We have a very unique source of water. It's a limestone filtered water that goes into our molasses reduction process to prepare us for fermentation. All the rums that we, in fact, produce are made from molasses. So I know Don has the added benefit, if you want to call it that, of being able to use many different types of cereal. everything that we're doing starts from molasses. It's how we treat with that molasses that starts to add those nuances to the individual spirits coming through now at the end. So we have differences in terms of how we will prepare our fermentation. So we can actually have things like, we call aging the wash. Aging the wash will give you, or will give your alcohols, your acids in your fermented wash time to actually form esters. We start to get, really beautiful, big, bold flavors. And one of the more important things, especially when we talk about Jamaican rum, is that people expect flavor in Jamaican rum. Don mentioned he goes light, we go heavy. All right? And if you understand how we consume alcohol in Jamaica, you would start to appreciate why. I mean, the most important rum in Jamaica for the persons who've been to Jamaica. Let me see who's been to Jamaica except for my wife. Okay, very good, very good. All right, so if you came to Jamaica and you got off of your resort, and I hope you did get off your resort, you will realize that the biggest rum, volume-wise in Jamaica, is a brand called J. White Overproof rum. It is a big, bold, funky statement. It is absolutely in your face, which is kind of how we Jamaicans are, right? We are very plentiful. We are very full of life. We are very full of passion, and that comes through in everything that we do, including our rums. So we're here to talk a little bit more about Appleton Estate and how we get into the blending of Appleton Estate. But it's important to appreciate that the passion comes through in Appleton Estate in the very same way it does in the J. White Overproof rum, but just in a very different way. Appleton tends to be a very sophisticated set of flavors. I mean, we've taken that big Jamaican funk and flavor, and we refined it. We put a suit on it. We made it sophisticated. It's got black tie. It is absolutely incredible in terms of the way we've been able to change the flavors. Now, those flavors that you will find in that set of rums, or in those set of rums, are as a result of, and I'm going to list them out for you now. So, fermentation, critical. And in fermentation, we're talking about things like yeast, we're talking about our molasses. Then we get into distillation, and we're doing both pot still and column still distillation, which is very, very important, because when you think about the members of the Appleton Estate range, they're all blends. With one exception, and that's the Hearts Collection, which is actually a single batch pot still rum, which is a very different proposition from what we do when we talk about blending. Now, once we are finished with that distillation process, and we're talking about being able to separate based on, alcoholic strength, we can take different cuts off on a pot still. We can actually take different cuts off on a column still. So we actually make many different types of marks, and every single cut of rum is called a mark for us. So we make different styles of rums, different cuts of rums in our distillation process. Now, those rums are going to be placed into once used bourbon barrels, and we are very, very specific about that because, tannins are a very important part of our process. We start to get that beautiful woody flavor. We start to get those beautiful colors that you will get upon aging. Once used bourbon barrels will strip a lot of those tannins out, which gives us a perfect vessel for aging rum, especially considering the fact that we age our rums for such a long time. I mean, we practice minimum aging, and so when we talk about things like we just launched a 51-year-old rum, it means the youngest rum in that bottle is 51 years.
Wow.
And so it's really, really important when we start to think about the barrel choices and how the barrels are going to be impacting the spirits because we age for such a long time. Now, another one of the things that we have to take into consideration is our environmental conditions. So we have the whole business of tropical aging to contend with as well. So, rum aged in our climate, and I feel like we could do the same thing in New Orleans, to be very honest. It is hot outside. But rum aged in our climate is the equivalent of rum aged for 2 to 3 years in cooler climates. So it's a much faster rate of aging, a much deeper interaction between your spirit and your oak over the course of time that we're aging. And so what comes out at the end is a whole plethora of what I like to consider to be, colors. It's my palette. Every single year of aging creates a different color. every single barrel of rum sitting in the barrel inventory is creating its own set of nuances, its own set of flavor profiles that the blenders then have to take into account when it comes to producing, especially a consistent product. I mean, nobody wants to have a great 12-year-old today and, the 12-year-old tomorrow is, we're not about that life, okay? So we have to make sure that that consistency is there. And that is also another very important role of the blender. So when it comes to the point of blending of rum, we are talking about combining different styles of rum. So we're talking about pot still rums, column still rums, different ages. And if you follow the trail of the conversation here, you'll recognize that every single component that's going into a blend, it is going to add its own unique set of characteristics to the blend. And so what becomes really important at the point of blending as well is your ability to evaluate. Your sense of taste, your sense of smell, and just as important, your sense of sight also becomes important. So those three senses are the tools that you must have a very good grasp of when it comes to your blending process in order to make sure that you're doing and ending up with the right consistent flavor profiles at the end of the process. Now, in the case of the samples when we took one today, that we're going to be going through and evaluating, this one is in fact very near and dear to my heart, okay? So we're going to be evaluating the Appleton Estate Decades, which is literally to the left of your mat, right by your hand there, yeah? And I mean, it's early in the morning, so everybody should still know left from right. We're not there yet, okay? So this rum was actually blended in 2022. Mm-hmm. What was so special about 2022 in Jamaica? It was actually the year of our 60th anniversary of independence. And this was actually the blend that was put together to celebrate Jamaica's 60th year of independence. Ooh. Now, here is the interesting thing about this blend. Now, this blend actually contains 6 decades worth of rum. Wow. So rum from the 1960s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and I guess the 2010s, is what we're going to call that. Right? And the thing about this rum is that even though it has such beautiful old rums in it, I did not want to have a style come out that was predominantly woody. I wanted to make sure that we had a beautiful balance of flavor to truly represent the story that we want to tell at the Appleton Estate. Because at the Appleton Estate, we are all about balance, sophistication, and beautiful flavor. And I believe this glass of rum truly represents that. So what that meant is, remember where I started off talking about the importance of each individual barrel. What it meant was we had to go out and find all of the specific barrels from the specific years that we wanted to go into this blend to actually showcase the flavor profile that I was interested in. And so it meant we would go out, get samples of the different barrels of the different years, identify which barrels were aged exactly the way we wanted them, and then turn around to figure out how we wanted to combine all of these rums in order to showcase the amazing flavors that you are about to enjoy. I digress for a second here, because one of the interesting things about this rum as well is that, so the night we launched this rum, we had an auction. And we produced a total of 1,962 bottles of this rum. Does anybody know the significance of that number? 1962 was the year of independence, okay? Bottle 1,962 auctioned that night for $16,000. Wow. It was intense bidding. But it also goes to show, though, that people also understand the quality of what's in the bottle. And they can actually appreciate that rum is a spirit that is as engaging as any other spirit out there. It probably isn't as understood as many spirits out there. But if you stop and think about it, the very same methodologies that people will use to produce a fine Scotch, a whiskey, whether it's Canadian, whether it's American, we do the very same things with rum. And it is through the craft, it is through the care, it is through the quality, it is through the beautiful process of blending that we are in fact able to bring these flavors to life for you all. Because the reality is that if you taste a lot of the individual components going into the blend, they all miss things. But when they're put together, you start to realize that they form a harmony, an orchestra that should be played for the world. And that is where rum is at this point in time. That is where our Appleton Estate Jamaica rums are at this point in time. So let me ask everybody to take up your sample of the Appleton Estate Decades. It's a rum, like I said, I am incredibly proud of. And the first thing we're going to be doing is just look at the color. And this is all natural from the aging process. And you notice, starting to tend towards almost like, light mahogany color. Absolutely rich extraction of tannins and those sort of compounds from your wood. We're going to take your plastic cups, and I want you to put the cup to your nose, and I want you to inhale, exhale, and inhale once more. And I'm taking you on this journey because this is the journey I go through every single time I'm doing a blend, because we want to make sure that we totally understand and appreciate the flavors that are present. So you start to get those beautiful toasted oak notes. Really, really beautiful. You get that nice, very dry, zesty citrus, orange peel top note as well. Really, really beautiful. Let's swirl and do that evaluation one more time. So you start to get that nice vanilla coming through as well. I mean, it's almost inviting you to come, let's go. Yeah. Now I want you to take a sip, roll the rum over your tongue, and then swallow. And we are in rum country, so we're not spitting anything out. We are swallowing, everybody. So we're going to enjoy this. 45. But you don't get 45 at all. I mean, this is a beautiful, smooth, unfolding experience in your mouth. So you get these nice, dark, almost chocolatey light notes on your palate. You get a beautiful coat of that nice toasted oak across your palate as well, and it goes all the way to the back of the tongue. Yeah. And it's a beautiful, long, silky, oaky finish. Absolutely delicious. Wow. And so I'll end by saying that, when I blend rum, I am blending rum for people to enjoy together. And, this session here today, for me, actually, is one of the most perfect ways to enjoy rum. I've started off with a group of people I don't know, except for those 4 hooligans right there. I'm not calling my wife a hooligan, so you know what? It's 3 hooligans and a wife. But I am sure that when we all walk out of the room today, we're going to be walking out as friends. Yeah. All created over a beautiful glass of rum. So cheers, everyone. Cheers. Question before we move on. Sure. Is this bottle for sale currently? So that's a very good question. So the bottle is actually only available in Jamaica. I actually had to ship all 6 bottles here for the session today.
It's not important, but it's here. We're just grateful that it's here.
So this really is a true experience, because it's not a bottle that you can go out and find anywhere except you're coming to Jamaica. So I'll look out for the ones who are coming to Jamaica. All right. So hopefully I'll see a few of you on the island.
Okay. Amazing. Alex. Oh, yeah.
Hola. Hello. Hey, it's a pleasure. Thanks, Noah, for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to share this table with you guys. Very happy to be here. Just realizing that anywhere in the world, I mean, we have the same purpose, the same purpose, and it's a common denominator, in my opinion, what we do. Well, I represent Mexico because I think tequila, when you think of tequila, you automatically think of Mexico. I think, and if you think of Mexico, the first thing you think is tequila. So really it's our iconic flag worldwide, is what represents our culture. And I'm so happy to be part of Jose Cuervo. Is the oldest tequila company in the world. We started similar, 1795, to have the permission from the Spaniard government to sell tequila. Of course, we were doing it before that time, but we're Mexicans, so but we didn't pay taxes, I guess, to the king. No, but it's a lovely spirit, as you may know, pretty sure. Tequila is in a big trend, I believe, worldwide. So just a little bit of a background. It's an appellation of origin. We only have one raw material as well. It's agave, Azul Tequilana Weber. And we have two categories of tequila, 100% agave tequila and tequila. And I would like to take advantage to share with you something that, as a technical guy, I have a chemical background as well, so as a technical guy, when I hear people believing that mixed tequila or tequila, it's a cold blend of tequila 100% and another spirit, that's not the way it is. Tequila, it's when we blend as a balance of fermentable sugars, of agave, carbohydrates, and other sugars, carbohydrates, and they ferment together, and then we distill. So that's and when it's 100% agave, 100% of the fermentable sugars come from agave. So that's really the two types of tequilas that we have. We're going to be tasting today 100% agave tequila. And then we have 4 classes of maturation. Well, 4 classes of tequila. Silver is very popular to drink silver tequila. It's got no contact with wood whatsoever. We're in the tropics as well, so our categories are reposado, needs to be in contact with wood for at least 2 months, up to all the way to a year. That's the range of a reposado. Then añejo, it's 1 year up to 3 years in contact with wood. And the third is extra añejo, which beyond 3 years. All right? So as David was saying, I mean, this art starts since we plant the agave. Agave takes about 6 years to mature. No, and it's only in the Appalachian region. Not in all Mexico, only in the state of Jalisco and other states, municipalities. It takes 6 years. So you can imagine our inventory is in the fields. We have inventory in the warehouses, but as whiskey maturation, we couldn't mature all those years because it would evaporate. No, in our case, it's a dry heat. It's not humid. So the delta humidity, I was speaking with Don, and for us, we evaporate about 9% per year. No, compared to other countries with colder weathers, it's about 3%. So it's 3x. No, it's 3 times as much. So you can imagine, and the heat as well increases the cinetic of maturation. All right. So we start with agave, then we cook the agave to convert to sugars. So there's the first variable. We have cooking recipes, no? Depends on what flavors or on what compounds you want to achieve. Then it's milling, which is mechanical. It really doesn't, we're looking for efficiency there. And then it's fermentation. As Don and David said, the queen of the distillery is the yeast. I say the queen because in Spanish it's female, no? La levadura. So we really need to treat her like a queen. I mean, temperature control, everything, so she could work and deliver what we need to deliver. We have as well our proprietary yeast that we propagate daily at the distillery. And so it's important. We play with distillation, basically the bricks, how we load the fermenters, and the amount of yeast we add, so we have slower or faster fermentations, and we believe we can achieve different variables as well. And distillation. Based on the Mexican norm, we have to distill twice, so we use copper pot stills. And the cutting, your heads or tails, there's no definition of where it's a head or where it's a tail, so it depends on your flavor composition that you want to achieve. All those congeners, you can cut them based on the proof on the distillation process. So once you have that lovely silver tequila, starts the maturation process, okay? So we are a family-owned company for 11 generations, so my boss, Juan Domingo Beckman, he's really involved in this. So he's not just the CEO, he knows about tequila. He was raised with tequila when he was, instead of having a baby bottle, so it was tequila. So he's really involved, to be honest. And one of the pillars of our company, it's innovation. No, I personally have meetings with him every Friday at 10:30. No, every Wednesday, 10:30 Mexican time. So I'm not there today, but we review innovation. We have a pipeline of plus than 50 projects, no? And it takes their time. So he approves every liquid we launch. He approves every label we put on bottles and the design. He's really involved. So we've been working with multiple barrels, different types of oak, French, American, Colombian, Eastern European oak, and depends on the charring or the toasting. So we play with that. That's where we have a lot of our inventories as well. We try to do a very intensive teamwork to analyze what profiles each of the barrels will deliver. So because blending, in our opinion, is not a fixed recipe, no? It's as Noah said, every barrel is different. And not just the physical barrel, but where it's located in the warehouse, what proof you fill that barrel with, and very, very unique conditions from one warehouse to the other. So we play with a QDA, which is like a spider web matrix, and we try to put together, the sensory profile. So in my opinion, sensory, when you go to molecules, it's fun, but then the complicated part is how to express the sensation that you're really feeling. So the language on sensory, it's really important when you're in with your team, trying to understand what everybody's feeling, no? So we do blend every batch we bottle. We have multiple brands, so it's really, I represent a very talented team. They are really working every day. We're really proud to do what we do, and we're fortunate to have this opportunity to share our work with the rest of the world. Okay.
Yeah, I think the spidergraph we have. The first one is
The reposado.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's a middle lower lane. So this is Reserva de la Familia Reposado. It's when we did this together with Juan Domingo. We wanted to create a complex reposado. Usually reposado, which is 2 months. A lot of the brands will play in the low range of the maturity, 2 months, 3 months. So we wanted to go up. So this is a blend of over 9 months, between 9 and 11 months. It's not an añejo, and we played with 3 different barrels. And the 3 of them are toasted. It's 2 Americans, light and heavy toast, and French as well. So the combination of these barrels, we believe it creates the complexity and the smoothness of the tequila we're looking for, without overpowering with the wood. Sometimes what we try to do is to have that balance, like everybody explained here, but we want the agave, the cooked agave, to show as well, because it has beautiful, in my opinion, we call it cooked agave, but the reference that I give is like cooked pumpkin in the U.S. So it really gives you that sweet caramel notes. So I invite you to, as well as they were saying, you can see the color is a little bit lighter than the rest because it's a reposado. It hasn't been in contact as the añejos or the other categories that we have here. And it comes from barrels. I do have to say, our philosophy, we buy new barrels always. We don't start from bourbon barrels or anything like that. So we buy our own barrels, and we play with the first fill, second fill, or third fill to come up with the right color and right sensory profile that we're looking for. So I invite you to taste. Salud. I hope you enjoy it. I don't know what I hope you enjoy it. You can still, I believe you can still taste the cooked agave notes, which is typical of tequila. It's not rum, it's not Canadian whiskey. I mean, it's got its own identity. But as well, the combination of the 3 barrels, as you can see there. So we believe we can achieve dry fruit notes, some chocolate notes as well, and some caramel. So, and those are, remember that as I said before, the barrels, it's got 2 basic works to do: extraction and reaction. It's a time machine, no? So it really is not just about extracting. When it's there, there's oxygen, there's porosity in the wood, so there's always reactions. It goes from alcohol to esters to different compounds that really start appearing with time and with the right conditions. Okay? So that's Reserva. The next one on the right, it's Maestro Dobel. It's another brand that we have. Dobel stands for Domingo Beckman Legorreta. That's why it's signed Juan Dobel. It's the name of our CEO, of the owner of the company. I've been lucky to work with them for some years, and when we first launched Dobel, I mean, it was really he's been his baby, no? So like the other brands, but the other brands had existed, some of them, but Dobel was created in the early 2000s by Juan Domingo. So we play with different recipes from cooking, even the way we cut the agave. It's like a military cut, no green in it. No? We call jicama style. So we play different cooking conditions, slower fermentation, and a different distillation cut. Okay, so that gives us our Dobel Blanco. And in this case, one of our, I would say, signs of Dobel, we've always played with Eastern European oak. When we found that barrel, it's from Hungary, I believe, we believe it gives a beautiful balance with tequila. It creates toffee and caramel notes. So this is a combination of American, but this is char oak, not toasted, and Eastern European oak toasted. So the combination of those two, we believe it gives this complex, very balanced profile of caramel notes, as well as like dark chocolate notes from the American char oak. And the color, as you can see, it's different because this has been in barrels for over 18 months. So we blend the two barrels. As I said, it's not a fixed recipe. We try to mix, target always the gold standard, and it's released by me and my teammates. And it's a lovely work, to be honest. You're more than welcome to join us at the distilleries. And I think as blenders, we're so fortunate to have this job. It's very fun. Yeah. It's very fun to do it. It's very artistic. It's science, but it's art as well. So it's a combination of both.
Amazing.
So, salud. I hope you enjoy it.
Salud.
You have to finish it as well.
Thank you, all of our panelists. We have a few minutes for any questions. If anybody has any questions, just come on up to the mic. It's like a game show. Come on down.
Thank you. I guess this is for all of you, but really, David. As far as like blends, I do a lot of like house rum blends at my bar, and when I'm doing it, I'm thinking of using it in a specific purpose in a specific drink. Do all you guys have like a goal in mind when you start a blend? Do you want more high notes? Do you want something that's more smoky, and you kind of work towards that goal?
You are absolutely on point. So you always have to have a target. If you don't have something you're shooting for, then you're kind of shooting in the dark. So if you look at what we offer in the range, as an example, we go from everything from cocktail making rums with signature all the way through to sipping rums with a 21-year-old. But they were all designed with a very specific target for use. And then we build the flavors based on that preferred or targeted use. So that really is the process. You always have to have a target in mind.
Like the legend is kind of
exactly.
Like,
The legend is a very good example because the legend, the target was incredibly specific. Mm-hmm. We were trying to mimic the original 17-year-old rum for the Mai Tai. So we had to go with very big, bold flavors, but it also had to be mixable in a way that would represent in a Mai Tai. So for sure, you have to have your target in mind.
Did you have samples to compare it with?
Yes, of course. As a matter of fact, it's funny you asked that because we actually even made Mai Tais. So it wasn't just about the rum itself; it was how usable the rum was in terms of its specific target.
And what they're talking about is the Trader Vic, the original Mai Tai recipe,
that is correct,
called
yes.
for a 70-year-old rye nephew, which she made. So obviously that was out of stock for a long time. So they're trying to mimic the flavor profile of that to give us actually what a Mai Tai is supposed to taste like. So
amazing. And follow up quickly is when you're blending, do you do it in small batches and then just scale that all the way up?
That is typically what we do as well. So everything starts in the lab. So we get all the samples from the barrels, we put the blends together, we will do testing on that, and then once we are satisfied that we are where we want to be, then we start scaling it up on an industrial scale, but it still has to match what we did on a lab scale. So if it doesn't, then we have to go back and tweak to make sure we end up with exactly what we wanted to.
Interesting. Thank you.
thank you. Those are great questions.
I'm going to build on that. So when you do blend on a large scale, I do it by weight. It changes volume when you change temperature. When you add water to alcohol, it's exothermic, so it heats up So be very, very careful when you go to large scale. You got to do it by weight.
I was going to say that too.
Yeah. If you're trying to achieve a consistency, weights to do it. And the other advice I give to people, you blend on an absolute liter of alcohol or proof gallon, because it changes in strength in where you put it in the warehouse, but you keep the same flavor molecules depending where it's at, so you can keep consistency that way too. That's a little out there, but yeah, that's something to do.
So will act different as they get into the big volume then.
That's right. Yeah, those are two things to keep in mind. I was going to build on your first question too. The other thing with the master blender, we do target flavors and things. And one of my big philosophies is you got to leave your inventory in a better position than you found it. Mm-hmm. So you've got to be able to the next blenders that are coming in behind us, and I'm sure these guys are doing the same thing. They're leaving the inventory for the next generation as well. So that's a mindset that you always have to have in the back of your mind.
Crazy. Thank you guys.
Right. Any other questions? If not, we got one more.
So amazing selection of products. You can really see the passion from each of you in these bottles. They're all really beautiful. When you guys are blending and you hit that blend that says, this is what I want to share, what is the quality that you look for? What is it that denotes a real success when you hit a blend that you like?
Or do you ever hit that?
Yeah, the way we work is we have like different rounds internally, and when we feel we have a winner, we present to Juan Domingo, and it's like a great feeling when he chooses the one we chose as a team. So in our case, that's like, wow, we hit the bullseye.
Ours is the same. It's all team oriented. So we work between operations, marketing, sales. They all have their sign off on what they're doing. If I can't make something somebody can't sell, it's not worth it. So we do have sign offs from each of the divisions, and it ends up being a team effort at the end, and that's a good feeling. My worst, give me my worst prototype was 151 samples. Oh. Not a good day. When you get to, I like to get it within 10 tries, but 151, that was not a good day. But it's a good feeling when you get there. But everybody has a stake in it. It's a team effort when we're making whiskey, and I'm sure these are the same.
Right, and I would agree with that approach. I mean, we do have a team approach as well, even though I will argue that the team almost always wants to lean towards the position of the blenders. But yes, it is a team approach, and then there is sign off at the end. And to the point that was made earlier, it is a very good feeling when you get that alignment in the room. I mean, when you take something that is done and assessed blindly, and other people are coming to the very same conclusions that you came to about the quality of your work, it is a very rewarding feeling.
Well, thank you everybody for coming. I mean, I can't think of three more knowledgeable people in our industry who are also so incredibly generous with their knowledge, which is such a rare thing to have both of those traits. And all three of our panelists today certainly exemplify that. So thank you all so much for coming, bringing such wonderful things for us to drink, and sharing all of your distilling processes and knowledge. Thank you all for coming out. I know there's a lot going on at Tales, so it means a lot that you're here with us. Thank you, all of the Caps, for all of your hard work and for everything that you do that allows us to do what we do. We could not do without you. And for everybody else at Tales, enjoy, drink lots of water. Enjoy Tales Day 88 or whatever it is. We'll see you around. Thank you so much.